Alright there, kiddies. It's Grandpa Skid with you again here tonight. It's getting a little bit chilly, so we'll get this one done. Might have a few cars going by, maybe a few trains, and maybe some coyotes. So that's all part of the fun. But for you, get nice and toasty warm, sit back and enjoy the Rhylian Raven, Chapter 10. I have to say, you don't look much like a wizard, Rohan said, as he sipped his wine. He shivered involuntarily, thinking of the power sitting beside him. No, I suppose not. I just wear breeches and shirts like anyone else now. More comfortable. I mean, all those robes and hats. It's a little much. I guess. I don't know many wizards. One gets older and all the trappings that seemed important before don't seem as much now. It probably helps to have a young body, though. Well, you have me there, sir. A perk of the job, you might say. Very convenient when one starts slowing down and getting all those aches and pains. Rohan rubbed his knuckles, where rheumatism was starting to set in, and pursed his lips. Of course, for the longest time, I really didn't even care about that so much. As long as I could study and practice magic, I was content. Physical diversions start to pale in comparison to the kinds of games you can play with true power. But that changed somewhat when she showed up. Marla? Yes, young Marla. She came to my domain seeking to be my apprentice. She was young, intelligent, beautiful, and ambitious. She knew exactly what she was doing. She wanted to learn everything she could from me, and she was willing to trade anything I wanted to get it. It had been many years since I'd even thought of physical pleasure, but her raw vitality, coupled with her intense ambition, made her irresistible. I took her in and began her training. At first, our relationship was all transactional, but as time moved on, we grew fond of each other. We both shared an innate love of magic and power, which brought us close together. In time, her apprenticeship was over, and she was a powerful witch in her own right. But she stayed and became my wife. You get 2 trains for the price of 1. Those were exciting times. I've been alive many human lifetimes, but my times with her stand out as some of the best. We researched together, performed dangerous arcane rites together, and sought more and more power over this world and others. We traversed dangerous places and fought hazardous foes. Then, when back safe and victorious, we celebrated with magnificent debauches. We even thought we might have children together eventually, but the time never seemed right. There was just so much to do. Somewhere in this time was when Marla first brought up the Raven. We had obtained many obscure and potent objects over the years, sometimes at great risk, but the Raven was in a different league. Are you familiar with the Temple of Rhyl? Just the folk tales. It's supposed to be far northeast of here, isn't it? Somewhere in the Jagged Rise Mountains? Yes, indeed it is. Do you know anything about what happened to Rhyl? Not really, no. On the other side of the Jagged Rise Mountains once stood the realm of Rhyl. Now there are just endless miles of Badlands. How that came about is quite a story of corrupt power and mass destruction. Suffice it to say that not much remains of Rhyl today except that temple. You can be sure that the kind of power that could level an entire region could also lethally protect what the Rhylians considered sacred. So contemplating the liberation of any artifact from the temple was akin to contemplating suicide. Most of the legends seemed dubious anyway, but one stood out, the Rhylian Raven. If it were true, it would be worth the risk. Marla had been obsessed with the Raven since reading about it in the Bosconian historical tomes. She thought we should add it to our already considerable collection. I was more circumspect. Frankly, I was becoming content with the power and riches we had accumulated. I leaned more to settling back and enjoying the fruits of our hard-earned labor than risking it all on one more legendary artifact. Marla eventually stopped trying to persuade me. She bowed to my wisdom that it was just too risky for us to try, and that seemed to be the end of it. So what does it do? Pardon me? What does it do? The Raven. What's its power? Have you ever studied magic? I'm guessing not. No. Then I'm afraid I can't really explain it without being technical. Suffice it to say that it's very useful, very powerful, and very dangerous. Anyway, sometime later, I had another aspirant come seeking to be an apprentice, Jadine. Shade said Marla killed him in Lorivar after you blinded him and did something to his mind. Well, Marla is nothing if not practical, but you're jumping way ahead. When Jadine showed up, he was amusingly young and inexperienced. He studied well, and he was bright enough, but he lacked patience. He was ambitious, but true power requires work and persistence. Still, not every apprentice can be a superstar, and Jadine was satisfactorily average. As such, he proceeded through his apprenticeship steadily, and we all got into a routine. Then one day, towards the end of his studies, Jadine approached me. Master, may I have a moment? I looked up from a tome I was studying to see Jadine walking towards me. I set the tome down and said, Of course, Jadine, what's on your mind? I'm fascinated by an aspect of history I've been studying. Oh? Yes, the fall and destruction of Rhyl. Specifically, I've been looking through the Arcana, and much is mentioned of the fabled Rhylian Raven. Oh, hells, not you too. Excuse me, Master? Marla used to speak of the Rhylian Raven. Indeed. According to the Arcana, it is an object of significant power. Would it not be worth the effort and risk to try to obtain it? And where does the Arcana suggest the Raven is? In the Temple of Rhyl, of course. So it is a very powerful object, and anyone who can read the Arcana knows where it is. Why do you think some wizard hasn't acquired it already? How do you know one hasn't? I think the temple is extremely hazardous, and this keeps all but the most powerful away. As to the second question, given your connection and standing, Master, I think you would hear if the Raven had been attained. Right on both counts. But could we do it? Come again? You've stated many times that your wife is a powerful witch in her own right. Master, you obviously have great power. Even I am growing in strength and can bring a third set of eyes to watch for danger. It seems to me the three of us working together could get this precious artifact. Think of being able to study and use it here at our leisure. Did Marla put you up to this? No, Master. Our paths never cross here. Master, soon my apprenticeship will be over. What better test than to work magic under pressure in a real-world hazardous place? Please consider it, Master. I will. Will that be all? Yes, Master. I thought about it for a while and talked it over with Marla, Sorrows continued. She seemed surprised that Jadine wanted to try something so difficult, but was all for it. She was hoping that I'd come around someday and thought the time might be right, with Jadine there to help. So I finally acquiesced and we began the planning. It took the better part of a year to get the information we needed on the temple, to research new spells, and to craft the talismans and potions we would need. We practiced again and again for every contingency we could think of. Finally, we were ready. So you broke into the Temple of Rhyl? Rohan asked. Sorrows looked at Rohan crossly. We weren't common thieves or grave robbers, I'll have you know. We took every precaution to leave as much undisturbed as possible, not only for our own safety, but also out of respect. But yes, we entered the temple. Soros paused to take a long drink of wine. His gaze went far away for a moment, then returned. Obviously you were successful, Rohan prodded. Obviously, but at a cost. I was careless and managed to get shot in the leg by a dart trap as we were leaving. The teleport effect finished, and I found myself back in the study of my castle with my wife and my apprentice. My right leg was throbbing from the dart in my calf. I hobbled over to the settee and sat down with a groan. Thinking of the powerful artifact tucked carefully in my pouch made the pain a little more bearable. Marla, bring me a healing potion quickly. Jadine, I'll need you to cut out the dart. It doesn't seem to be poison, thankfully, but the sooner the better. Yes, Master, right away. Master, we did it. Yes, Jadine, now please hurry. Jadine went to the large table in the study where many of the tools were kept. He rooted around for what seemed like forever, then returned with a fine knife that was usually used for dissection. Marla had returned as well, with a deep green potion. Damn my carelessness, I said. Okay, this is going to hurt a lot. Marla, as soon as Jadine has the dart removed, pour the potion down my throat, but save a little to apply directly to the wound. Jadine kneeled down, and his hands went out of my view. I didn't want to watch him dig into my flesh anyway. He looked up briefly at Marla, whose eyes widened. Then I was overcome with brutal pain. I'm sorry, Master. The dart is quite deep. I must continue. Just get it! I panted through clenched teeth. Again, rending pain seized me from near the wound. It was getting worse, too. It now felt like my whole lower leg was burning. Damn it, Jadine, I yelled. Just finish up already. Oh, I'm finished, Master, and so are you. Startled, I looked at him through the pane and saw him rise and stand beside Marla. What is this? I hissed through gritted teeth. The fire in my leg was spreading to my abdomen. Jadine indicated the knife. Poison, he said. I wasn't sure how exactly to get rid of you, but this was a perfect opportunity. Even now you're too weak to cast any counterspells, and very shortly you'll be dead. Then Marla and I can be with each other in peace. At this he put his arm around my wife and kissed her on the cheek. Marla, I whispered. The healing potion. There's still time. Oh, Soros, she said. I didn't know he was... It's okay, Marla. Let the old bastard die. As you've said so many times, he was only holding you back from achieving your true potential. And now, we even have the Raven in addition to each other. At this, he ripped the pouch from my weakening grasp. I've freed us. It's what you told me you wanted all along. I looked into Marla's eyes, and there was genuine sadness and regret there momentarily. But then they hardened over, and she set the potion down on an end table. I'm sorry, she mouthed. My vision was fading as burning fire racked my whole body, and my heart pumped like mad. I managed to murmur one last word. Marla! God's damn, they poisoned you? Rohan stammered. To be accurate, Jadine poisoned me. Marla just didn't lift a finger to help me. And you died? Oh yes, quite painfully. But how are you here then? I have a few young men from the local area on ice at my castle. I just thaw one out, consume the soul, and inhabit the body when required. I have a spell always cast that automatically does this whenever the body I'm in stops living. Rohan looked at the white-haired young man in horror. Now come on, don't look at me like that. I'm a powerful wizard, and I do things that you would consider evil. Why? Because I can. You would too if you could. Soros finished his wine and set the glass down slowly. I can't seem to ever do anything about the hair, though. It always turns completely white. You people, Rohan spat after a while. You do whatever you like for your own ends, and you don't care who it hurts. You make me sick. That's exactly what we do. Let me tell you something, my simple friend. If there's anything you truly want, all you have to do is find out how to get it and what the cost is. If it's possible, and you're willing to pay the cost, nothing else really matters. You should try it sometime. Anyway, I'm going to turn in for the night. I've got a proposition for you. Experience has shown me that I could use another pair of eyes and someone who could handle a sword. I'll be staying at Nasty's Royal Palace during my time here. Why don't you come by tomorrow afternoon? I'll be sure to pay you well for your services. I have no desire to even see you again, let alone work for you, Rohan said. Let me ask you, why did you even track this old ranger here? Rohan considered a moment, then answered, I promised a friend to find out why he had to die. From what this bastard said, it seems like for nothing. Maybe there's more to the story. If you're curious, come by Nasty's tomorrow. The white-haired wizard stood up and walked briskly out of the tavern. Rohan stared into the blood-red wine for a while, then finished it. He reached into his pocket and moved his finger around Shade's ring. God's damn it, he cursed. Dun, dun, dun.